Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Amy Dumont. I'm from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. I am the manager of the Nursing Home Diversion and Transition Program, as well as Senior Outreach. I have my team here today that are going to do a couple of presentations for you for educational purposes. But I don't know if many of you are aware, we do go out to residential care homes, nursing homes, and other community agencies if they need some support in education in different areas. So like for instance, today, the nurses and the case managers and myself will be here to present on de-escalating situations, boundaries, and just a presentation on overall mental health 101. Those trainings are free. You could certainly reach out to me. We've been to some of the residential care homes to do those trainings and to other community agencies, but I just want you to know that we're here to support you and provide education to your staff, even if it's in regard to self-care. We did a presentation recently at Eliza Huntington regarding self-care, so the staff knew how to take care of themselves in a changing environment, in a changing world. So that is available. So certainly reach out to me or any of the diversion nurses that you might see that pop into your nursing facilities or into the residential care homes. So I'm fortunate to be here today to the other side of our program, which is Senior Outreach. I'm here with Glenn and Jose from McCall Foundation, who will come up and introduce themselves. And they're here with a gentleman that they support, Donald, who will be telling his story with the support of the McCall staff on his transition into the residential care home and how he's done so well. So I would like to invite the three of them up here now and ask Glenn and or Jose to give a little bit of background on McCall. McCall is, like I said, part of our senior outreach. Many of you might not know about senior outreach, but it is a service that's also available to your clients. McCall Foundation services Region 5, which is Western Connecticut, so Torrington, Waterbury, down through Danbury. And a great organization, as are all of our senior outreach partners. And I'd be happy to share information about senior outreach as well. We have a table out in the hallway that has the information about all of our programs on it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them as well. So I'm going to turn it over to my friends here from McCall.
I'm not much of a public speaker, but I'm Glenn Ryan, Director of Special Services at McCall Behavioral Health Network. And I've been fortunate, I've been at McCall for 30 years. And what we are is mental health and behavior and addictions treatment. We have a whole variety of levels of care, from inpatient to halfway house, intensive outpatient treatment, specialized groups that includes trauma, and the overall aspect is to provide holistic care to those in our community. So I've been blessed being part of the Senior Outreach and Engagement Grant. And personally, I've been doing senior outreach since I've been at McCall for now 25 years. So more than ever, the need for RCHs and what we do as far as senior outreach is needed more than ever. So one of the situations that Jose and I are, which is unlike any other time I've done my job, is that we're finding older adults in the community. So the grant itself is for 55 and older. And one of the things that we've done with the grant money is that we provide a lunch group for the seniors. And it used to be called Senior Lunch, but when I became of age within the age group, we called it Wisdom Lunch Support Group. So we have wisdom. So on a given Thursday, we'll have, lately it's been 30 individuals every Thursday that we provide lunch with. And one of the keys to that is that it's least threatening way to invite persons into services. So if we get a call from, say, Charlotte Hungerford Hospital or a local nursing home or an RCH, and some of their behavior could be leading towards behaviors that are associated with active addiction, or just a need for a senior to have socialization. Instead of going in there and saying, hey, like when a social worker makes a recommendation, say like, hey, we saw you coming into the hospital as an older adult, they could have fell, or they came in with pancreas problems and et cetera. Their physical ailments are due to active addiction. And if they gave a referral to say to go to McCall, no one would come because of their fear. But if we go to the hospital, meet them in the hospital bed or at the nursing home or at a RCH and invite them to lunch, then they'll see that there's people their age that they're able to identify with and try to get them into services. And I'm putting that out there because that's exactly how our next speaker was helped. And through our lunch group and being inviting to him, little by little, we got him into more services. But one of the issues that I would like to put out there for everyone is that, particularly the importance of an RCH. We do have an RCH that's in our community called Fernwood Rest Home. And so what's happening in our society is that there's older adults, and many of them, because of mental health issues and with active addiction, they're not completely diagnosed because of what's going on with them in the community, but it's obvious to us that there's like the beginning signs of dementia. And with that happening, there's their mental health and other issues, their cognitive issues, active addiction, their mental health is exacerbated by the beginning onslaught of some cognitive decline. And we're also finding with many of the folks in the community that there are so many older adults living in our community that are alone. And that's the purpose of like what we do. We want to provide connection and bring them into services, and so they feel less alone. And plus, that was the whole idea of the lunch group. So it's imperative that we help the folks that are older adults in the community to try to pull them into services. Because when we start to go in there, they're living by themselves. Sometimes they're hoarding. There's the family, if there's children, they live across the country, so they're not available to help. They're sometimes due to their behavior, they have no positive sober or any positive supports at all. So they're living alone in whatever possible apartment that they might be in, or boarding room, and the amount of individuals that we're getting exposed to now is like I said, I've been doing this grant for a while, and it's more now than I've ever seen before. So our jobs have changed, and through our engagement with Don, he's a great success story to where he was homeless, living in a tent. And we were able to go out there and check on him and make sure that he was okay. And then he was open to the idea of getting into a recovery care home over at Fernwood. And he's been there now for, 9 months? And he's thriving. So, Jose, is there anything else? I'm going to sit down now. But anything else you would like to add?
This thing on? Oh, we have the time. My name's Jose De La Rosa. I'm a case manager with McCall. So that means my job is random and I don't know what I'm doing most days. But we figure things out. We use resources. If we don't know what we're doing, we try to find someone who does specialize in what we're trying to do. I don't have vouchers for housing, so when I find a client, that was such in Don's case, we try to find places that can get people in as fast as possible without throwing them in the system. So that's kind of been my biggest challenge with dealing with homelessness, is trying to avoid just putting someone on a list and putting in a note saying I put them on a list, goodbye, and they're sleeping outside waiting to find out that they're number 25 on some random list. So we try to cut a lot of that. Without further ado, I'll pass it over to Don. It's nice seeing everybody. And
Good morning. How are you all?
Don?
My name's Don, and I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict in recovery.
Yeah.
I have just about 2.5 years clean now. And I got a lot of people to thank for where I'm at today. First off, I was in a bad way for, let me put it, 40 years maybe of using alcohol and drugs, and tried numerous rehabs and sessions with counselors and this and that and this and that and this and that. None of it helped. None of it at all helped at all. I got lucky, and I'm one of the lucky ones, that I was able to meet Jose and Glenn at McCall Foundation, and they found me a place where I can live and it's safe. So I'm happy about that. I'm also in school now. I'm taking alcohol and drug rehabilitation classes. I want to get back to what I was. It's one of the very important things to me right now, is giving back to who gave to me. Two gentlemen right here, they saved my life. They took me out of that tent and put me into a residential care facility. Things are hard. Things are really, really hard until you can figure out exactly what you want in life. I finally figured out what I wanted in life, and that was to stay sober and stay clean and, do what I have to do. The McCall Foundation is a great place. They're there to help people out. For whatever reason it is, they are there. I've been through their program and got a lot out of it, but still went back out and decided to get high and drunk again. And that was a constant thing for me. And I'm just glad where I'm at today. I'm proud of myself that I'm able to sit in this chair and to talk to you guys. It means a lot to me that I was asked to come up here. But at least I know when I leave here, I'm going someplace safe. And that's all there is to it. Thank you for...
First of all, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today. it's a lot to come and sit in front of people and to understand what you've gone through, and to thank these gentlemen for supporting you in that. It's just about today and being where you're at today and having people that support you no matter what. So thank you. I was wondering if there's any questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to make, one other comment.
Sure.
Some of the societal challenges ahead of us is that, there's a lot of folks that do not have the resources with family, friends, or income. They're living, just surviving and getting by. And as our population is getting older, the RCHs, there's no assisted living for persons that are low income, and they need it more than anybody else. And in these situations to where, in trying to get a person into the homeless system, yes, they can get case management through permanent supportive housing and different avenues. But there's other folks that are out there that with significant mental health issues and physical issues to where they're not able to live independently in these apartments. So this is a small piece of a solution that we found to try to put persons into, say, this recovery care home and keep them safe there. If they were in regular permanent supportive housing, because I'm on the leadership of the CAN, so I know what I'm talking about as far as Northwest Connecticut. It's very difficult with folks who are getting older within that system to keep them safe in the apartment. And there is nowhere else for them to go that once they're not able to fully be, because they're not going to be put into a nursing home for long-term care. So RCHs are more important than ever, and then having them safe within the RCHs is that what we want to do, because we're able to go, whoever we place in the RCH, where the person is at the RCH, they contact us because they could be using, or their mental health is not as healthy as it could be. We can also, it's a two-way street. We might be able to get a person like Don in, but there's also people inside the RCH that come and contact us to try to pull them with added supports within the RCH. So it goes both ways.
Hi, I'm not going to bring up the old wounds from last month's meeting, but once again, Don's story is not unfamiliar to all of us at RCHs, and I will speak for myself, I won't say we, want to provide that support in RCHs, and once again, we are told that they can drink alcohol and smoke marijuana, so we are now becoming a no longer safe place for them to come and have that support and to not relapse and to go into recovery again. So we're being told because they're adults and they can drink and smoke marijuana because it's both legal for them. Our RCHs are not that safe haven anymore for people with addiction, and we have strived to help. Mental illness and addiction comes hand in hand with a lot of our clients, not all of them, but a lot of them, and we want Don's story to be the success of all of our residents that live with us, and our hands are being tied with that because they are adults, but they came to us for a reason. They live with us for a reason. They are not able to live independent. And we do have rules and regulations, and we do have, my own children in my own home have rules and regulations that our residents do too, and that's what makes it a safe environment, that those in recovery have a wonderful experience to be able to live and go to bed at night and not see the person in the bed next to them high or drunk every single solitary day, making their sobriety or their recovery successful. And here we are yet again with everyone in the room applauding Don, as I am as well, but then being told, no, we cannot stop them from drinking or smoking marijuana in our facility. So I'm unaware if all the agencies in this room, which I've waited many, many years to see, that they're all on the same page, because we're getting different information from DPH, from the ombudsman, from DMHAS, from DSS on what we can do in our facilities, and our hands are tied to make those stories be more successful. And we do everyone in here, I can assure you, does not want the person that's drinking and doing drugs to ruin the sobriety for the other people who have worked so hard. I have residents who have lived with me for 17 years in recovery, and now my new residents are drinking and smoking marijuana on a daily basis, and they see me doing nothing about it because I can't. And they're like, well, I might as well as do it as well, because I'm not going to lose my housing. I'm not going to lose my comfortable home. I'm not going to lose any of those things. And it's a struggle for all of our RCHs. They are combative. They are aggressive. Their personalities change. We all know. We've seen the happy drunk. We've seen the mean drunk. And residents with their mental illness and the medication that they're on, they're not the happy drunk. I can assure you on that. And we are all struggling out here to follow the rules and regulations that are set from DPH, the ombudsman, the DMHAS, the DSS, and they're not in conjunction. I can tell you that right now. They are not all on the same team, and we need a support and we need help.
So I'm wondering if Macaulay can respond to that. I think it would be helpful to answer some questions related to, and thank you for that question, related to if you have someone who's at the RCH and relapse, what that looks like, what are the requirements and support that you all provide. Is that something you expect?
So usually I'll keep my clients open when they work in there, and I work very closely with the RCH staff and just let them know that we're there as a support. I can't control anyone relapses, and I don't think it's wise to. No one has an answer for addiction. People are going to relapse, and we can offer them support. We offer them groups. They can always come back to groups at McCall. A lot of people that we place in RCHs, if that's where they choose to go, we'll keep them in treatment, like on an outpatient basis. But I can't predict when someone's going to relapse or anything like that. I mean, my job is just to give someone an opportunity to live their best life. And I think we're all in this room. No one can predict how someone's tomorrow's going to go. We just offer an opportunity and we hope for the best.
Yeah, to Jose's point, I mean, for the RC, this is why you're here today, to recognize that that's an issue, and we could play a small part in the solution by, like, for example, with McCall, we're an outside entity, to provide those external supports to those in the RCH to build an opportunity for them to be successful. And that what's nice about the grant is that if, for example, if we were doing the outreach part and they're not engageable at that time, we're still there. I mean, there's going to be another opportunity for us to come back and then engage with them again. So all we can do is build a therapeutic relationship with that person to let them know that we're here for them, and build external supports within. Again, like with the lunch, we stop at Fernwood to pick up Don for lunch. We also there's a couple other nursing homes to where we do the same, because in that community, to your point, even though theoretically they're living in a safe environment, they can still get it in a nursing home and at our RCH. And to go in there and into a nursing home or to an RCH and let them know that there's support out there for them, and that we're not going anywhere, and continue to provide that, and then provide transportation from like Fernwood or from a nursing home for them to actually receive counseling or participate in our intensive outpatient treatment. Our job is to make sure that all those resources are available for the person. And to Jose's point, we don't give up. So we're always there trying to do those resources and take some of the pressure off of those within the RCH that because your job is to keep them safe while they're in the facility. And at least you can call us to go in and talk to somebody and at least give them an opportunity for success. We don't have any control at the point, to Jose's point, for them to take it, but we don't give up. We just keep on each episode or whatever situation that we can still come and say, hey, don't forget about us. If you want some help, we can set you up with a support group. And so, I just want to put it out there that senior outreach and engagement is part of the solution for you guys.
I just wanted to dovetail on what Glenn said, out of the sake of time. Senior outreach is a piece of the puzzle, right? And McCall, as I indicated, is for that Northwest, Waterbury, Danbury area. There are brochures out in the hallway on the different senior outreach agencies throughout the state. Wheeler represents New Britain, that north central part. United Services is up in the Willimantic area. And Bridges is in Milford. And Family Children's Agency is Bridgeport, that whole Gold Coast area. They all offer similar supports to seniors in the community 55 and over. But again, it's only a piece of the puzzle, right? So feel free to pick up some brochures and see that as a conduit to linking that person to other resources in the community. We also have the diversion nurse team where there's a question about somebody's level of care, and we can have the nurse go out and do a clinical assessment. So that's why those two programs exist, to support and help determine next steps.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, we have to. Oh, Gina.
Sorry. Can you hear me? So sorry, because I know we're close to time, and I just want to dovetail off of Amy. Oh, sorry. For those of you who don't remember me from last time, Gina Florenzano from DMHAS. I'm the Director of Regional Services, as well as the SOTA, or State Opioid Treatment Authority for Connecticut. Also, work closely with Amy and many of the providers, such as McCall. But one of the things we do have for you that we'll be sending out, hopefully after today's session, is a resource guide specific to each area of the state, where there are resources in terms of mental health resources, resources for substance use disorders, amongst other things. And I'm thinking we should probably include the PDF for the senior outreach. But what I want to remind you, and Glenn, to really piggyback off of Glenn and Carlos. Jose, thank you. Oh my God, so sorry. It's Monday, I apologize. Is really recovery, and this is what we talked about. DMHAS does not regulate any aspect of the RCHs. What we are here to do today is or over this series, is really to highlight resources and really highlight that recovery is a journey and individualized. So what worked for one person may not work for another, but we don't want you giving up on individuals. And sometimes, while we think this is the plan that will work for an individual, we just haven't found the supports that really will fit for that person's recovery journey. So I just want to remind folks that it isn't always for everyone. You go to 12-step meetings and that's what recovery is for you, or you go to a residential treatment program and that's what's going to get you on the path. And sometimes it's not the first admission to a treatment or the second, but it's okay. We do not give up. We just keep supporting and we keep looking for those resources that really will help the person. So I know we have a lot to talk about today, but those resource guides will be coming to your emails. And hopefully that will be a next step so that you know what's out there in your area of the state and what can help you.
Thank you, Gina. Can we please get a round of applause again for Donald, Jose, Glenn, and Amy? Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Colleen Kelly. I'm going to talk with you regarding how to de-escalate a situation in your RCH or even in the nursing home. Excuse me. how to be proactive in your approach. What you want to do is you want to, try to get to know your residents. That's really a good starting place. That way you can see when they're acting not themselves, and you might be able to help them that way. You want to be able to spot when they're agitated or irritated and they're going to escalate. And I'm going to help you. Ooh, going too fast. Sorry. Okay, good. All right, and then at the, I'm going to also show you how to be calm in this situation and also to be proactive for the next time. Hopefully you won't have one, but they do happen. Agitation can occur suddenly or slowly, or can last anywhere from a few minutes to an extended period of time. Just like children, some people just can't express themselves, so they're going to be frustrated. They're going to, you can go to the next one, yeah. It can appear, the agitation can appear as irritability, restlessness, hostile, behavior, and sarcasm. They may be pacing, moving quickly, and not sure where they're going. They can say things like, "I can't sit still. I'm very. I need to get out of here. I'm uncomfortable." So, what you want to look for initially, you could go to the next one. There's medical conditions that contribute to someone's agitation. They could have a lot of pain. It could be a sudden or an acute medical condition, and especially in the elderly, a UTI, urinary tract infection, can present as agitation, and they could throw things. I've worked in a nursing home. I've got shoes thrown at me, things like that. Just, that's one thing that occurs. So you want to see if they have any kind of undiagnosed diabetes that can cause agitation, substance use or withdrawal. When someone's withdrawing, they can be very agitated, very irritable. There's also medication side effects and interactions. So these are things you want to look for, and as far as medical goes. You also want to see if they're sleeping well, if they have family conflicts. A lot of times, family can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Depends on their relationships, obviously. If they could be have a disagreement with what their plans are in the RCH or the nursing home. They may have a problem with another resident or staff. And then also another issue is, promises made from other staff members. Sometimes if they're not met, they get very disappointed, just like anybody else would, but they don't actually know how to handle that, so it comes out as agitation. Mild agitation can be if you see someone picking at their skin or their clothes, they're pulling their hair, wringing their hands, shuffling and pacing. They're having verbal outbursts. They're getting lack of focus, difficulty concentrating, and excessive talk, and increased excitement. And then there's a moderate agitation where they have poor impulse control. Go to the next one. Uncooperative, and they could be hostile. They're clenching fists, threatening, and they're going at you like this, and they're disruptive. They get loud, screaming, yelling. And then severe agitation, they become a danger to themselves. They could throw things, very poor judgment, in your face, screaming at you, yelling obscenities, kicking, punching, slamming doors, throwing objects, and also running away, which, could be dangerous to them, especially if they're not in their right frame of mind. So what you can do, you want to respect their personal space. You want to, you want to give them some space. You can't be right in their face. You can't mirror what they're doing. If they're screaming in your face, you don't scream back. You just remain calm. And the major thing is to listen. Find out what they're upset about. Make sure that their wants and needs are addressed. You want to repeat back to them what they're asking for. And you want to ask it in a clarifying way, like what's really bothering you? Oh, Joe's really irritating me, and well, what is he doing? You want to just kind of calmly ask the questions in a supportive way. You offer choices. You be concise and clear, and set limits, but and repeat your messages. We got to be careful. We don't want to hurt other people, and so you just have to try to, like I said, you have to know your residents, because that way you know how to connect with them. You know what they want, and you can, anticipate those things so these situations don't happen. You can also offer coping skills. If the person is agitated, would you like to go for a walk? Would you like to go listen to music? Would you like to just go to your room and be, and just have a moment by yourself? There's different things you can offer. If they like to write, make sure they have a journal to write into. Give them a cup of coffee, and just allow them to process what happened in their own way. Now, during a severe episode, you want to stand nearby the resident, but you don't want to be in a position where you're going to be trapped in the room, because you don't know what they're going to do. So what you just keep your distance, stay with your back to the door, and just speak calmly. Get all the other residents or staff out of the area, just so they have that space, and just try to talk to them. I'm sorry. And then if the resident is not happy with you, then you get another staff member to come in and help, because sometimes another person might have either a better connection or better able to come in as an outsider from that situation and help. So anyway, you also want to ensure the safety of nearby objects. Make sure that they can't cause any harm. Like if there's a cup on the table, a glass cup or a glass, you move that. And don't yell at them. That's just not going to help you at all. And like I said, always stay calm. That's the best thing you can do. If you yell, they're going to yell louder. If you stay calm, then they will calm down. Always keep your hands visible. Don't stand like this. Don't stand like an authoritative way, because that just becomes another piece of the agitation puzzle. So what you also want to avoid, at the moment, you can't be proactive. You got to deal with the situation. Avoid a power struggle. If they want a glass of water or a glass of lemonade, give them what they want. That's fine. There's a win or lose interaction, and people sometimes feel like the victor. So you don't want to have that, because if they feel they're losing, they're just going to escalate even more. So what you want to do is give them choices, because if they have a choice, then they feel control of what's going on with them. That's the best thing I can say to you. Just the calmness and and just talking it through with them. Okay, so when you're in this position, like I said, first you breathe, then you change your strategy if it's not working. Be calm, speak in a low tone, give plenty of space, and ask questions like, what is it that you want? How can I help you make that happen? And what do you need from me right now? Like I said, given choices, do you want to take a shower now, or do you want to take it after breakfast? Choices help, even with children, it helps them feel like they have control over, and it empowers them as well. So everything has to be patience and time. After the storm is over, or after not the storm, the situation is over, you want to sit with your staff, and you want to be, debrief what happened. Like, what was what was going on at the time? Does this person have any underlying medical conditions? Does this person have a history? And develop a plan as to what you can do. When you see these things happening, you might want to step in and say, oh, let's go for a walk, or let's go sit outside, or, give them an opportunity to get out of that situation, so maybe that will help diffuse it. And also, like I said, knowing your residents, what had worked in the past, and then what can you do differently if whatever the situation preceded that, what are you going to do now? So what you want to do is, the other supports for the residents is peer support, talk therapy. You might want to ask their doctor for a medication review, social programming. Boredom can create a lot of problems as well. Relaxation techniques, maybe new medications that might be needed. Mindful breathing, hypnotherapy, meditation, exercise, music and art, and walking, just going out for a walk. So, and afterwards, you also want to talk to the resident. What happened? Like, what got you upset? Is there anything that we could do differently? What has worked for you in the past? What hasn't? What are kinds of things that make you frustrated? And what would you like us to do next time? So you want to just, give the resident also that control back. Help us help you. Focus on the positives. Take note of what went well, and so it can be repeated. What did the resident learn? What did the staff learn? Are there any environmental policies, procedures, or changes that you can make so this won't happen again? So remember, safety first, and that's everyone's job. So, okay. Any questions?
Hi. I appreciate all the information that you gave us. I feel like a lot of it kind of go towards a nursing home setting. When it comes to RCH, I don't feel like we can handle it in that way. I only can speak of from me, like my community is about 45-year-olds plus, right? And then you're dealing with younger people who are alcoholics and have those type of aggressions, and they're more vocal than people who are in a nursing home, right? So what do we do in situations when they are so aggressive, disrespectful? You call the cops, which we can if we feel unsafe, right? But then the cops don't do anything because they have diagnosis of bipolar, schizophrenic, and all those. So because they have those psych diagnoses, they basically don't help us. I mean, I've been told if they put their hands on you, then we can come back and basically do something. So it's like we have to wait until one of us get assaulted for us to get protected from these residents. And just like the other lady was saying, we are there to help them because they are with us because of their issues with being sober and drugs and alcohol. But there's nothing that we can do at a RCH to help them. We're not allowed to discharge them because of these things. Even if we feel like they're being unsafe, it's very hard to get to that point to say, okay, you're no longer able to stay at this facility, right? So we're kind of stuck with them and deal with all of their behaviors over and over, even with giving them the resources of going to programs and stuff like that, because again, it's their choice, right? So we can do all of that, but if they don't accept the help, we're just left standing there to just deal with this for years and years until what? You know, that's I feel like a lot of us feel like that. I don't know. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just really hard to be able to help them in these cases when you're dealing with a community of 45-year-olds, 50-year-olds who are very alert and oriented, go out in the community and get drunk and smoke marijuana and all of that stuff and come back and take it out on the staff. And then we're not safe at all.
So, thank you. I just want to make a comment, and feel free, Marie, to share. If somebody is a danger to themselves or to others, that's an opportunity for them to go out for an assessment. So calling 211, 911 needs to be your first line of defense. If the person is not safe, if the staff is not safe, they need an assessment.
To say, are they being a danger to themselves? Did they say they're going to hurt themselves? Did they say they're going to hurt somebody? No, but their actions is speaking it, right? If they're throwing things and being all loud and disrespectful and you know, all through the hallways and stuff like that, and just being like, you may seem like you're going to be attacked even though they don't put your hands on you, but mobile crisis is not coming out for those type of situations. It's certain things that they have to say in order for mobile crisis to come out and even assess the person. Especially if they don't have a conservator, then you're left to just, it's their choice if they want to go out to the hospital to get assessed. If they say no, then the ambulance don't take them, mobile crisis don't take them.
Sometimes it's about working together with mobile crisis. Like you said, that you know certain things that they'll hear those buzzwords on their behaviors and their actions, and if it's happening over and over again, that they'll take it more seriously. Sometimes it's paying attention to that. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be easy with someone acting agitated, someone going off on staff, and I'm not going to sit here and say that that's okay for them to do, because it's not. We want you to feel safe, and we want the residents to feel safe in the RCHs. But learning these de-escalation techniques, how to set effective boundaries, can also help you. Like, if someone's acting violent, I'm not going to sit here and say that telling them to stay calm and using these things is going to immediately stop it, because it's not. But sometimes, before they get to that point where they're throwing things or threatening people, taking the time and saying, how's your day going? Making them feel included, making them feel like they belong somewhere can also de-escalate it before those situations happen. And you, the RCH staff, know the clients the best because you're with them all the time. And you know how to speak to them. You know how to do these things. And sometimes it's just taking a step back and saying, okay, how can I stop this from happening again? And I'm not gonna, like you said, sometimes the police don't do anything, and sometimes crisis doesn't come. I'm not going to sit here and say that they will, because sometimes they won't. Sometimes it's on you and the staff to take a stand and say, okay, what can I do? Learning the different resources that are in your area, like Amy kind of talked about a little bit, and someone else from DMHAS, who I already forgot your name, and I'm sorry, it's Monday. Hi. But also kind of contacting us. Myself, I'm Kylan, by the way, hi. And there's Rachel and Kim at my table over there too. We're the case managers that work with the diversion nurses who know the different resources for mental health and addiction that are in your areas and that are in our areas. And we'd be happy to try and help if we can. Get them connected with people like McCall Foundation and different other organizations that might help before it gets to that point, or even when it's there. You can always give us a call and we'll be happy to try and help.
Hi, I'm from Brass City, and majority of my residents are young. I have a 20-something-year-old, I have a 30-something-year-old, I have 50-year-olds, I have one that's 74. And I have two residents that every Thursday they go out, they buy their marijuana, roll it up, they smoke it. I don't have a problem with it because I'm saying it is legal. I know you guys might feel differently. But long as they respect everybody in the facility and they smoke it in the designated area where they smoke at and don't be disruptive, I have no problem with that. And secondly, I do have some residents that get aggressive sometimes. I talk to them, the staff talk to them, we respect them, they respect us. I have had to call the police a couple times. When the police come, that presence, they change their whole attitude and things become normal. Mobile crisis, they always come out if there's an issue. I've never had any issue. I know my area may be just a little bit better than certain areas, and I just have that presence. Also, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I know how to handle majority of my residents. I reach out to DMHAS Western, talk about their medication, if there needs to be changes. I also have a social worker that comes in and work with some of my residents that are not connected with DMHAS. I try to stay connected with all the outreaches to make sure that my residents are safe and they're maintained with their mental health. So if you guys need help or assistance working in that area, just contact Brack City and I'll help you.
Thank you, Regina. I got one. It's not, okay. We have one question here, and then we've got to go back. I do want to say, if you have a police department that you don't feel is responding or they're not responding appropriately, you don't feel they're supporting you, can you let us know so we can offer training to them about the setting, because they don't always know what each setting can do?
Hi, I'm Lisa with United Services, and I just want to say that I've called on DMHAS nurses, and they have been institutional at helping us with our hotspots. We have had an increase in the dementia cases. I have about 24 on my case load, and probably 7 of them have some form of cognitive issues, serious impairment. That some have not even been diagnosed. So I think it is, and as far as it goes back to the de-escalation, sometimes we have to be an actor in our own life when we're going into these places. We have to put on a different hat. We have to recognize that we are there to help, and that means helping whether we're in a tough situation or an easy situation. Not everybody comes along and their days go perfect every day, you know, so we have to recognize that. Ours doesn't, theirs isn't gonna either. And we're all in this together. And so I just want to give DMHAS kudos, because they've been excellent with any time I've needed them.
Thank you. Okay, round of applause for Colleen. We're going to move on to the next piece of our programming.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Karen Nieves. I'm a diversion nurse. I work under DMHAS, but through Intercommunity. Sorry, I don't know if this is this too loud? No? Okay. Bear with me, I don't know how to use this. So she's going to switch it for me. We're going to talk about some professional boundaries this morning and avoiding power struggles, which kind of goes in hand with what she just talked about. Basically, what you want to do is you want to set some clear boundaries with people. As a professional, you want to get off to a footing, like a proper footing, but you want to set those boundaries right from the beginning. When somebody comes into your home, you want to basically say, this is an RCH, but you want to set the rules, what the boundaries are, what you're looking for if they come there. Sometimes we can find ourselves falling into emotional traps. We find ourselves becoming like a certain resident. You might start to become a little bit more attached to a certain resident than other ones. Other ones you might not care for so much. And so when they start to have a behavior, they pick up on that. Everybody around there picks up on that, because, you know, it's kind of where you haven't set that boundary. Apart from medical and clinical needs of the residents, there are emotional needs that are also that you're going to need to deal with. Not every resident's going to have the same background as another resident. So you have to take that into consideration. And somebody might be a little bit more needy. Somebody might attach on to you because they can feel that you sympathize with them. But treating the biggest key takeaway that I tell people is to basically treat everybody the same. If they feel that you're giving them favoritism, they're going to come to you and they're going to expect things from you. So sometimes we need to develop, you're developing an over-attachment to particular residents, and that's not a good thing. That's always a bad thing on both sides. He reminds me of my grandfather. That's a perfect example. So you say, you say, oh, this resident is so cute, she's sweet, she's had a hard life, and the other one just annoys you. They feel that, and you're going to have issues. Go ahead and now click. Okay. While we want to be caring for the residents, sometimes caring leads to emotional burnout. And I think we've all done that, myself included. Playing favorites, is what I just talked about. It's not really fair to all the to other residents, and it can cause behaviors. It can cause disruptions. It can cause resentment. It leads to setting up staff. Esther always takes me out shopping. Why can't you? Well, Esther might have been able to do that day, but you can't. And so now all of a sudden you might have an outburst of behavior, something that's going on because they're expecting that, you're going to take them out like Esther, and maybe Esther's on vacation and they can't go out, and they're going to expect that. So set boundaries with them and just say, this is what we're doing today. I'm sorry that, I can't take you, or this isn't going to happen, but just set it up from the beginning. Go ahead and click it. What?
You have to press the green button hard.
Oh.
You gotta mean it.
I don't know where you're clicking, but I'm just going to read off of here. So anyway, so we can model healthy communication and relationships for our residents. You want to avoid the staff burnout with the compassion. We all have families, we all have, children or different people at home that we might take care of, including we have to take care of ourselves. If you start putting that same empathy into every time when you go into work, you're going to burn out. You are going to burn out. You need to maintain, this is your job. You're communicating in a healthy, functioning way. You're part of the team. They are a resident of an RCH or a nursing home or wherever they are. But at that point, you can only give so much. You have to have that space. What's their space and what's your space, and have the boundary down the center. You have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to burn out in no time. And that's why there's such a big turnover in the medical field, because people don't set boundaries. Physical and emotional safety, you can feel bad for people, but when you start to cross that boundary, it's not only causing yourself issues, it's causing issues for them and other residents. And that can lead to really physical altercations, all types of issues. Click. We can model healthy relationships between good communication, help to avoid staff burnout by fatigue, by compassion. Basically, if somebody, deals better with someone, and you're having, like this lady was talking about de-escalation, and she was talking about, well, we have young people, and they might really get us to the point where we're frustrated. You might say, I need to step back. I need to set a boundary. Somewhere I take responsibility for where I might have crossed a boundary, and they might expect I'm their friend. I'm not the staff at the RCH. I'm their friend. And you can be friendly with people, but you have to come off as that you're the staff at the RCH, making clear boundaries. This is what I'm here for you to do, but if you cross that boundary, it's just going to escalate from there. It's going to be more and more and more. Continue communicating, functioning as a team, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. Staff can't come in and somebody says, oh, I'm just going to take so-and-so and we're going to go down the road and I'm going to take him for ice cream. Everybody else sees that, and they're saying, why am I not going for ice cream? Why am I not going shopping? Why am I? And then before you know it, you hear the little whispers of, so-and-so is the favorite. So-and-so's looking for Esther because she takes him out. And then when Esther's not there, all the staff, all the residents have an issue because of that. Try to maintain the staff's physical and emotional safety as well. If you start crossing boundaries, everybody's got social media, everybody's got, some sort of Facebook, Instagram. Residents look you up. Residents find you. Residents want to add you on their face. I've had that myself. People want to think you're a friend and you get a friend request, and I'm like, No. Delete, 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 delete. Because, you know, you have to set that boundary. If you take that one person onto your social media, you take that one person, oh, I know so-and-so lives in Meriden. Before you know it, if something happens, they're at your door. You need to have a boundary. They need to know you're the staff at the RCH or at the nursing home or wherever. You're friendly with them. You're there to help them, but in a professional way. In a professional way. You can click. I'm not going to read this word for word. We all can read that. You went on. Also, you know, talking about unethical or inappropriate behavior with staff, giving them little gifts, letting them borrow money, you know, paying for somebody's, you know, Amazon on your credit card, stuff like that. If you do it once, it just continues and it continues and it continues and it's expected. Other things, boundaries, kissing, hugging, becoming too familiar with residents, even with other staff. You need to set a boundary. It's a professional work environment. You know, you can become friendly with people, and you can feel like, well, this person has no family. They need that human touch. There's a difference between feeling empathy and crossing boundaries. Don't invite that into touching. You set yourself up. You can set yourself up for all kinds of stuff, because the day that something happens where they're not happy with you, and before you know it, they're like, she kissed me, she touched me, she hugged me. You're not setting yourself up for that breaking that boundary if you never did that in the first place. Things can be misconstrued, especially with the population that we serve. We know under DMHAS there's a lot of mental health. So obviously, if there's a mental health issue, they can become very accusatory. Not everybody's that way, but you really just need to also safeguard yourself. Also, you're going to compromise, you know, you want to also think of the reputation of the RCH. You know, it's basically the business's word of mouth. So if I had a really good experience, say like with Lisa, I deal with Lisa quite a bit. And so I can call her up and say, hey, it's Karen, blah, blah, blah. And she'll say, I need help with such and such. Okay, fine. But we know we're always going to be professional in front of the resident, no matter what. And if we're not, somebody's going to pull you aside. Somebody's going to say something, because that's how you do that. But if you cross those boundaries, you're also going to get that working relationship where somebody's going to say, oh, go to so-and-so, because they're going to let that slide. And when you start getting that reputation, it's not great. It can cause all kinds of issues. It can cause physical problems. It can cause emotional trauma for the resident, also for yourself. You're putting yourself in jeopardy. Residents here, we're talking about residents and staff refer to each other as friends. Staff can use a gentle reminder that you are what your roles are, that you are staff at the RCH. They're a resident there. They're there because they need help. Staff receives gifts. You know, a lot of times people will send you gifts, you know, or you'll give a gift. You'll say, this person doesn't have family. It's Christmas time. Unless you're doing it for everybody as the RCH, giving residents gifts for Christmas, you can't just give it to one person, because you're causing an issue. It's crossing boundaries, because they talk. They're going to go, look what Karen gave me. And do you know what kind of a problem you're going to have? A huge problem. Don't do that. Residents also get your personal cell. That's why a lot of times, you know, I don't know, not everybody has a work phone. But if you have, and you're using your cell, do *67, do yourself a favor and block the number. If you don't and they get your number, they're going to call you on a weekend, they're going to call you at night, they're going to call you on a holiday, they're going to call you around the clock, because now you're their friend. Don't do that. They ask to socialize outside of work. You know, they want to go to church with you. They want to go to the club with you. They want to come to your family's house. Again, don't do that. Do not, as a staff member, reveal excess personal information. Do not tell them, you know, everybody has a bad day. Everybody can go in and say, you know, and they say, what's the matter? They pick up on that. What's the matter, Karen? Oh, my father's really sick. and you're teary and and you're trying to get through the workday. Before you know it, they've become your friend in their eyes. They're compassionate to you. And you can be compassionate and you can, but just don't give too much of your personal information. It just never goes well. Don't do that. Staff members have personal relationships with a resident. I think we don't even really need to talk about that. That says it on itself. Don't do that. You're setting yourself up to be fired. You're setting yourself up for all kinds of charges. You're supposed to be their caregiver. You're not supposed to be having a relationship with people. Staff can suffer anxiety, sleep disturbances, residents. It's jeopardizing your own health because you might lay awake and you start becoming anxiety ridden. You might say, I don't know, did I do this? Did I do that? You're not going to feel that way if you set up the boundaries from the beginning. Talking about, that's where you're setting up the rapport with the residents when she said, that they might be really aggressive. You have staff, if you've set up a rapport and it's a professional boundary, you can go in and you can talk to them, and one staff might work a little bit better with the other, but it's opening up a communication line, talking with them, and letting them know this is not acceptable. So when you take somebody in an RCH, the first thing you're going to do when you take them for a tour is you're going to set those boundaries. Most of the RCHs have paper that's already printed of what the rules are, what they expect, and don't sway from that. Give them what you're expecting. A lot of them sign a paper when they come there to agree that they're going to follow the rules. And you've set up rules for your RCH. Stick to them. Stick to them with everybody. That way you're letting it known across the board, there's no favoritism, and you're not going to have an issue. Let's see. You might also know somebody from a previous setting. That can only help you if you are basically setting that boundary where you're making them feel comfortable. I know Karen from so-and-so, so I'm going to work with her, and I'm going to call her because she's going to try to help me. Knowing somebody or a resident from, I knew them, they were off at this nursing home. Okay, but if they were having issues there, don't bring it into the place now. Don't tell people what was going on there. Don't tell people why they came here, that, they had issues in the community. They did this. You need to have boundaries. You're making it more difficult to view the resident as a resident rather than, you don't want to view them as family or friend. Also, different values. Residents believe and they have different lifestyles which conflict with not every staff member, but some staff members might say, I don't like the way that this person does that. That might be the way that they grew up and that's all they know. So communicating with them and letting them know that that's not appropriate for here at the RCH, but you don't want to ever bring in, if they have a difference with cultural or religious, sexual orientation, you don't want to make that an issue at the RCH. This is their home. They should feel comfortable, and you should never, ever cross a boundary with that. Just make sure that when you talk about things, if it's crossing a boundary with rules of the RCH, it's different. But because they're doing something with their sexual orientation or with their religion, that's okay, as long as you talk to them about it. How to create healthy boundaries. Establish, like I said, right from the beginning. Here is the rules. We expect everybody. Some RCHs have you sign it when they come that this is what we expect when you come here. Best way to communicate. Again, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Don't give out your personal cell phone. If you're not there and you're the manager of an RCH, if there's staff on there, they know how to call the staff if something's going on in the community. They're not to call your personal cell phone. Seeing a resident in public. You can talk to them, you can say hello if they come up to you, but they might not want you to come up to them if they're in a certain setting. Let them come up to you first. Like I said, do not approach, let them make that choice. They might not want people to know that they're living in an RCH or, in that type of setting. Let them come up to you. Being sensitive, kind, reinforcing your role, commitment to healthy boundaries. Self-disclosure. If you choose to share something personal, ensure it's clinically related to the resident's goals. Sometimes when you communicate with people, you know, and they might be going through something, and you might have gone through something that's a little bit similar, you can decide really what you want to disclose, but really giving any of your personal information is not a good option. You can just say, oh, I've experienced something like that in the past. So they know that you relate with that, but not getting into all personal details of what you really went through. Too much sharing on any shift, you know, is not good for the resident, the other staff. It confuses them, and you're crossing that boundary. If you have a question or you have a problem, consult the supervisor at the RCH, seek them out and say, hey, I have an issue, you know, that's arising. You don't need to go it alone. You have other staff that are there. If you have an issue, you can put in a diversion nurse referral. Sometimes somebody has something that's going on medically or something that's going on behaviorally. They might need a different level of care. It might be where a diversion nurse comes out and needs to do a level of care assessment and say they need a higher level of care. Maybe they need a doctor's appointment. Maybe they need a medication change. But whatever the issue is, you're not going to know if you don't talk about it. How to create that? Take care of yourself. You're going to create healthy boundaries. That's the first step. If you don't take care of yourself, that famous saying, you can't take care of somebody else. You're going to burn out really fast. You're not going to sleep. You're going to eat really bad. You know, if you don't exercise, you don't do all those things. You need to spend time with family and friends, eat well, hydrate, you know, go for a walk. If somebody is stressing you out, ask the other staff, say, I need to just step outside for a second. I need to clear my head. Be flexible, you know, create and resolving the issue. Think outside the box of what you can do. It's a difficult population. If they weren't difficult, they wouldn't need us. That's what we're here for. It can be a really, really stressful situation at times, but doing some of these things or just saying to someone, so-and-so's driving me crazy, I need to step out, I can't. And somebody steps in and maybe 5 minutes later, the person's sitting, they're watching TV, they're smiling, they're laughing. It's just a change of face. It's just a change of situation. Things to remember. Always be respectful. Don't talk down to somebody. Don't cross that boundary. You wouldn't want somebody to talk to you like that, so don't talk to them like that. Roll with resistance. Feeling like, you know, you're going to change that or help them, that's a good strategy. Look for another way to view what is happening. Something might be going on. They might not feel well. They don't know how to express that, so they're just having a tantrum. They might just have something as simple as a headache. Talk to them. Listen to the resident. Don't just talk, but listen. Change your perspective. Your life experience with something is not the same thing as what their life expectant, you know, what their perspective is. It's totally different. They could see things through totally different eyes. They didn't live your life. Remember that the resident is not trying to be difficult. Some are, but not all. Perhaps it's something they're anxious. They're just worried about they're going to see their daughter tomorrow for the first time. You know, something like that. You know, try to ask them what's going on. That's the biggest thing. Communicate and listen. Seek assistance or supervision. Don't go it alone. Be respectful. How you would treat a family member. You want somebody to treat your family member if they were here the same way that you would treat that person. Don't, you know, if it was your family member in an RCH and somebody was yelling or screaming or acting inappropriate, you would say, that's my sister, that's my mother. Well, this is someone's sister and someone's mother too. So don't cross those boundaries. Be professional. Be flexible. Keep your options open. And again, the final thing is teamwork. Okay. Any questions?
I think we just need to keep in one more thing involved there in our thinking too, and that's trauma-based. We have all of our folks that we're dealing with have had some form of trauma, and we have to keep that in our mind because they go back to that when they go into those scenarios that you're so pointing out.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Janelle.
Hi, Janelle.
I had a question about the boundaries. Understand, get it, they're so important. What would you say when they are breaking the boundaries? Like, what would be a natural consequence that is appropriate, that is helpful? that will empower the staff and also make the residents feel heard at the same time, but also get the point across, like, that was not okay.
Right.
And there's a better way to do it.
What
don't
type of
have an idea
boundary are
of
you
what-
talking about? I guess it would be what they actually did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if, for something, if somebody got my personal cell phone, first of all, I wouldn't answer it if it wasn't somebody that, you know, I knew. And if they said, oh, I tried to call you, I would be like, that's not appropriate. You would be calling the RCH. You wouldn't call my cell phone. It's not appropriate to do that. You know, if it's something like that, but what are you referring to? What boundary? Depends, really.
Trying to think of a good example. Just, you know, they're wanting to get to know your personal life, or I guess like disrespectful behavior where they're constantly crossing that boundary in which like you want that behavior to be stopped.
Yeah. I guess everybody's personality is a little different. I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't give it, so I don't take it. And I basically say that. So that goes back to communication. I'd say, wait, 1 minute. I'm like, you know, why are you speaking like that? What's going on? Please don't talk to me that way, you know, and basically set your boundaries. Like, yes, this is their home, but it doesn't give them the right to talk to you that way. You know, sometimes when you just say, like, let's calm down, let's sit down, let's see what's bothering you, you know, it's the communication approach. Do you guys have something to add? What do you guys think? The same, right? Yeah, anything else you have to add? Sorry.
No.
No? She said no. That's the way that I would deal with it. I would basically just say, let's not do that. You know, let's sit down and let's talk, because this could escalate really fast. You know, but keeping space, you know, like Colleen said, keeping space between each other, because sometimes people are really unpredictable. It's not what they want to hear, and so you need to keep that space. But a lot of times, from what I find, Lisa and I were with a client the other day. I hate to keep pointing to her, but we work really close together. And so Lisa and I were together the other day, and we had a woman who was really anxious, and she was getting over the top. First time I had met her, Lisa was great with that. She sat her down, and she just said, what's bothering you? She said, I know this is something that's not really you, but what's bothering you? And, I mean, you can talk about what you really, you know, did, but she basically just said, what can we do to help you?
So the main thing that I keep in my mind, the very main thing I have to do is I have to reset the situation.
Yep.
And that's not easy to do when you got somebody blaring and berating you and doing all those things. But that's when I have to say, hey, look, you got me over the top. We need to take 5 bubble breaths, man. You got to go take 5 breaths. I got to take 5 breaths, and we got to come back together with respect. You know, it depends on who you're dealing with,
How the
what your
approach is.
rapport is, and how you engage.
Right.
I have one more comment over here, and then we are significantly behind. So we're probably gonna, if everyone's okay, we'll skip the formal break, take your bio break as needed, and we'll continue on with the program. But I'm gonna be right back.
No. Just behind.
I know we have a lot of negatives always coming out when, you know, we have questioning versus questioning, but I have a positive remark to make here, and that is about this team here. A special mention to Karen and Rachel. They guided us literally to transfer a resident who was really suffering from mental illness, and this team, kudos to this team, really, we're indebted to them for helping out with helping that resident actually to secure a better place, which was not meant for her, like the RCH, and getting her into a place which was really, now she's thriving there, and we are very, very grateful. And also, last time we had the meeting where we had the MET certification, and again, thankful to Karen, Barbara, Shayna. We had a staff who was certified in the MET certification, and it has the name there, Blessed House, which we had asked for. It was implemented so fast. So again, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. So I'm going to be talking about Mental Illness 101. As you know, many of your clients in your RCHs do have mental illness. So we're just a quick overview of some of the different ones and a little bit about them. So mental illness is an alteration in thought, emotion, and behavior. I have to go quick, so sorry, I talk fast anyway, but we don't have a lot of time. So let me see. So thought, emotion, and behavior. And as we know, mental illness influences all those things. And it can carry over into our social activities, our occupational activities, and it's the way people behave. So we'll start with thought disorders. So obviously a disorder, a disturbance of your thought. There can be some confusion between thoughts and reality. A lot of times it requires medication, and some examples are schizophrenia, paranoia, and other psychoses, which psychosis we know is a break with reality. So a thought disorder. It's okay. So characteristics of a thought disorder are hallucinations, which experience all five senses. You can have auditory, you can hear voices. It's common in people with schizophrenia. Delusions affect how people perceive the world around them. There can be some irritability and confusion, and some fixed beliefs, which can really interfere with your functioning. Like a person can believe that they're the president, or they don't want to leave their house because somebody might be out there to hurt them. So mental health affects thinking because it's sometimes illogical, it doesn't make sense, and there can be distorted delusions. They can be fixed. You can believe you're the King of England. You can just believe a lot of things, and that, of course, affects how you act and what you do. There are also emotional mood disorders. They're the most common type. Extreme emotions of sadness, which is depression, euphoria, which could be mania, and they can either be alone or together. So they can interfere with your daily functioning of life, can increase the risk of suicide, and then there's some examples of a mood disorder. One is depression, one is bipolar disorder. So some characteristics are depression, which is sadness. People who are depressed sometimes lose interest in the things that previously interested them. Feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, anxiety, fatigue, low energy, preoccupation with death. Sometimes they don't take care of themselves, they're disheveled and unkept. There's sleep disturbances, decreased appetite, difficulty concentrating, memory impairment, and isolation and withdrawal and irritability. So bipolar disorder are mood swings, highs and lows. And so the highs could be racing thoughts. There can be disruption in judgment and behavior, a big decreased need for sleep. They can talk with pressured speech, speaking really fast like I'm doing, incomplete sentences. Your mouth can't keep up with your brain. They can be distracted. Okay, so then there's anxiety disorders. So anxiety is both a symptom and a disorder. It often occurs with depression. It's a common symptom with vision and hearing loss, and it's characterized by an increased fear or nervousness and a feeling of having no control. Sometimes familiar actions like driving or leaving the house can become really scary, get really anxious, have a panic disorder or a panic attack. And so some anxious behaviors may include heightened awareness, being on guard, thinking that somebody's going to be after you, and you have to be on guard to make sure nothing happens. Pacing, I know we see a lot of that. Pressured speech, quick, short breaths. Someone could have some OCD, so that's an uncontrollable need to perform repeated rituals, hand washing, light switches turned on, off, checking the locks, things like that. And then we see a lot of PTSD. Now, unpredictable acting, zoning out, it can be, and they can be absolutely triggered by something that will remind them of that what caused it in the first place. So some treatment examples for anxiety is talk therapy, relaxation techniques, deep breathing, medications can help, mindful breathing, hypnotherapy, meditation, sometimes essential oils can help, just relaxing in a room, decompressing. So behavior is what you think, how you perceive the world, and how you feel affects how you behave. So some common behaviors include impulsive responses, pacing, loud voices, swearing. I know we talked about this earlier, threatening statements, defensive posturing, and stances. Another thing is personality disorders, and that can be co-occurring with other medical conditions or other mental health issues. So some types of those personality disorders include OCD, obsessive compulsive personality, behaviors in a repeated pattern and different rituals, borderline personality, that's often related to childhood trauma, and we have resources on all these things, and it's good to read up on them and understand what each of these disorders, what drives them, so it can help you understand your clients. Some behaviors include splitting of staff. This is with borderline, trying to play one staff against each other, good staff, bad staff. That's a lot of what Karen talked about. And it can be really dramatic and unpredictable and usually quite manipulative. So some common characteristics of individuals with mental illness, they can experience a decreased ability to problem solve. And that's where we come in. We can help them. They can easily become overwhelmed when faced with a challenging task, are oftentimes rigid and inflexible in their thinking, can become upset when their irrational beliefs or thoughts are challenged by others, can have increase in anxiety, fear, and suspicion. Sometimes there's some paranoia, and can be extremely reluctant to interact in social settings and participate in ordinary functions of daily life. So here's some signs of mental illness. We have some verbal signs: repetitive word use, sometimes rhyming, loose word associations, jumping around from topic to topic without finishing each one, putting thoughts together, jumbled, extreme or inappropriate verbal hostility or excitement, especially if the level of intensity does not match the situation. Some visual signs are inappropriate or bizarre appearance, like someone wearing a winter coat in a hot day, not attending to their personal hygiene, agitation, pacing, threatening gestures, flies off the handle easily. Sometimes they can be really slow and sluggish movements. I mean, it can go the gamut of either way. Uncoordinated, clumsy, gross motor skills, unsteady on feet, and then unemotional or a flat expression. A lot of times there's a lot of lack of emotional response. They can be impulsive and may have caused injury to themselves. So suicide. So there's a lot of red flags. And some stressful life events can push this along: loss of your health, loss of autonomy and independence, like someone has to live into an RCH when they lived on their own previously, and so they're feeling really bad about that. Loss of family and friends, change in important roles. Aging can do that. As you get older, you see that your place in life can be different, and that could be a suicide red flag. So some signs of suicide red flags are refusal to eat, refusal to take medications, and sometimes it's not just their psych medications, it's their physical medications as well. Medical noncompliance, refusing to go to the doctor, withdrawing and isolating, a lot of times saying goodbye to friends and family, and giving away cherished items and possessions. Sometimes that at that point, if you see this, you can possibly step in and help. So what to do? If you see something, say something. So take it seriously. Don't always ignore it or assume they're going to be okay. Involve others. Talk with the nurse, your treatment team, whoever's around, if they have a psychiatrist. Talk with the resident about what you are seeing and what would be helpful. Develop a plan. Use safety precautions, monitoring medication, get rid of all the knives and sharps and things like that. Have contact mobile crisis so they can come out, and know your policies and procedures at your RCH, what to do if this happens. So to have successful interactions with residents, it's important to understand their experiences and how they perceive their surrounding, and again, be always cognizant of trauma and old traumas. Remember that mental illness is not a choice any more than asthma or diabetes, and it's an illness, and you have to be kind. Know that loud, busy, chaotic environments can cause their stress on those with mental illness. Questions? Are you guys seeing a lot of mental illness in your homes? Well, we're always there to help. And the resource man, they're all going to get. Everybody's going to get a resource guide for their areas. So that'll be really helpful with a lot of really good information.
In the trainings that we did this morning, along with a plethora of other trainings, are available, as I said in the beginning, through our department. So please let me know. And if we don't have a training available, we will make one. So thank you all.
Thank you.
I just have something. I don't even need a microphone. I'm loud. Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to also mention there's non-traditional, in air quotes, way that people can express suicidality as well.
They could have a preoccupation with death if they're searching for Googling a lot of death, obvious things of like how to kill oneself, or they might be testing someone to see what they're going to say. A lot of times people that are very miserable and acting very gloomy and angry could have a switch in a mood. I found with some of my clients through 32 years of doing this that have completed suicide is they suddenly become happy when they've always been like, oh my God, Joe Smith is always so, miserable and sad and sullen. And now that Joe Smith has made that choice, like F the world, they become happy. So there's non-traditional signs of suicide as well to look out for. It's a change in someone's baseline and pattern that's really important, I think. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kim. It's always important to be looking at your clients or your people, residents, and being aware. You know them best, so being aware of any changes you see. Okay.
Thank you. Round of applause for the nursing home diversion team.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Weston. I'm the Director of Community Options at the Department of Social Services. Community Options is the unit that oversees all of the home and community-based services offered under Medicaid. So if you're familiar with individuals on the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders waiver, the mental health waiver, acquired brain injury services, state plans like Community First Choice, those programs are all run out of our division. We serve around 40,000 Connecticut residents in HCBS settings, and we were asked to come talk to you today because RCHs is an emerging area for us with the waiver services, and we really wanted to be able to give you a background on what HCBS is, what it means to meet the settings rule, and how to use waiver services in the RCH setting. I'm with Melva Cooper. Do you want to introduce yourself before?
I'm Melva Cooper. I work with Christine in Community Options, and my little team is the one that will come out and do the audits. Right now it's annually, and presently they're out conducting audits, so you might be getting a call from them soon.
So Melva is all things RCH for us, so our contact information is at the end of the presentation if that gets shared, and melva.cooper@ct.gov. So I'm just going to start with an overview. Did I not touch it? Okay. So Medicaid long-term services and supports, it encompasses two areas, right? So Medicaid has long-term care, which is in an institutional setting. So those are your hospitals, nursing homes, intermediate care facilities, the places that have a little higher level of scrutiny, intervention. It's usually a medical model, right? That's long-term care LTSS. And then there's home and community-based services, which is what we do, which is both waiver and state plan services in the community. So HCBS can be further broken down by their funding mechanisms and the availability to Medicaid members. And I do stress that the 99% of what you hear is available to Medicaid members. There's a very small population of individuals that we state fund for services, but it is a fraction compared to the tens of thousands that we serve on Medicaid. So state plan services can be covered to all eligible members. We cannot have a wait list for state plan services, and they cannot be geographically limited. So these are benefits which we'll get into greater detail, kind of like PT, OT, nursing, skilled nursing visits. Those are state plan services, as well as your general medical coverage. Those are state plan services. Waiver services waive certain Medicaid requirements, such as the statewide-ness, the access to benefits, and being able to have wait lists for those services. So that's kind of what we're waiving. We're waiving some of the general Medicaid rules from the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid, and we are instilling our own set of limitations and access at the department. So we're going to jump right into what the home and community-based settings rule is and how DSS determines that rule. So since Melva is our resident expert on this and we've gone through the activity with CMS, she's going to run through the rules, what it means for you, and then how DSS determines if an RCH has met the rule. And Melva, we're going to stress that it's not just checking the boxes of the rule, it's really embodying like what it means to be a home and community-based setting for someone, that you're not restricting access, that you're not kind of the warden of that individual, right? It is their home, and we're ensuring that that home meets the federal rules for us to be able to provide additional services. So go ahead, Melva.
Yes, thank you. Before I was listening and I wrote a few things down before I start. Someone said that the different state agencies are given different interpretation of the rules and different information. We try very hard not to do this because if anything related, that would be DPH. The RAID team and myself, we talk about the resident rights. So we try, and as DMHAS said earlier, they're not enforcing anything, they're just providing a service. So we try not to do that, and I have to apologize for that if that is happening. And if you want to talk to me after, please do so. And I know from the last meeting there was also something on medication, and we try to do these conferences, these meetings, so we can, I know you come wanting us to provide you with answers, and a lot of times it's not so straightforward because when we deal with people, there's like, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And so be patient with us. And I also want to thank everybody that's here because when I started like 2.5 years ago, the state was like very behind when it comes to the settings rule. And last year, when we did a survey, we had about a 70% compliance rate. And that is great. That means you all are putting in the work, you all are doing what's right, you're all trying to serve the residents best you can. Thank you. Okay. So the home and community-based settings rules that came about in 2014 from CMS, because of COVID, the state wasn't as focused on it because there was like a pause. Then we picked up and we started. It's just to make sure that residents in RCHs are being treated just like anyone in the community. They have the same rights, they have the same privileges as you and I. And homes should also make sure that they provide an opportunity that the residents can have gainful employment in an integrated setting. It also ensures that individuals that are receiving Medicaid are getting the same services as individuals who are private pay or just anyone else in the community. It also ensures that individuals have a right to privacy, dignity, and respect. It's all about choices, the choices that is offered to them, and also that they have autonomy. One big thing that was an issue when we started was the locks on doors. And we have overcome that, and now homes realize that, oh, your insurance is not going to go up just because there's a lock on the door or stuff like that. Also, they have a right to visitors at all times. Yes, they have to be respectful as to their roommates, but you can't restrict when someone wants to come and visit them, or if they're letting you know it's midnight and so-and-so is going to stop by, they do have that right. Another big sticking point was a residency agreement. And the few homes that are not in compliance, this is one of the big issues, the residency agreement and also the locks. But with a residency agreement, that has to state that they do have the right to appeal an eviction. So you can't just tell them, okay, you have to leave for any reason, and they have no rights and they have to go. They can appeal that decision. And I think next one. For the we've been going out every year to conduct the on-site audit, and this is how we make sure you're in compliance. We'll come out, we do the on-site audit, We do a brief tour of the facility just to see what you have to offer. Are there grab bars in the shower, stuff like that? Is there a ramp? Just to make sure there's access for everyone. We also will talk to like 2 or 3 residents. And one thing we find, a lot of homes, okay, they'll have like a laptop or iPad in the med room. It's locked up somewhere. But they don't let the residents know that it's available. So when we go out to do the audit, then the resident will tell us, oh, there's no computer. Then when we call, they say, oh, it's in the med room. When they wanted, they ask. If you're doing the work, you let them know. So they're aware of what you have to offer. So when we come out and we interview them, they'll be saying, okay, yeah, there's a laptop, iPad in the bedroom, and I can get it when I want to talk to my family. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, that the residents are aware. And if you have new residents coming on, then you let them know what you have to offer. Also, with staff training, this is very important. The new staff coming on, they need to know about the settings rule. And I did send out some video last week, which is good. And also on the DSS website, RCH resources page, there are videos and there are PowerPoints regarding person-centeredness and the HCBS settings rules. And I think that's about it for my piece of it. But just so you know, it's ongoing. You have to maintain what you're doing to keep in compliance. You can't say, okay, this week they can have visitors, but okay, I changed my mind. We're not going to do it anymore. You have to be consistent, and that's what we're finding. Sometimes the consistency falls off after time, and that's when training is important. So your new staff is aware of the rules. So when we come out, we can have a nice audit. We can chat and be friends and smile and laugh, and we all will still be in compliance. So thank you so much.
So Melva's team is great, and like we said, if we do get a concern, so we work very closely with the Ombudsman's office. We also have individuals that are able to reach out to us, conservators and such. So if we hear about a concern, Melva's team will address that. There's times where we'll put in a plan of correction, and we'll just have some expectations that you guys are truly complying with the settings rule. We know it's a new concept, and it is, Maria's not going to like that I say this, it is optional, but it is highly encouraged that you all follow it. It is a good tenet to live by for these individuals, right? Their home should have access to visitors. They should have access to privacy. They should have access to employment and internet and socialization. So you are required to meet the settings rule if you're going to have individuals with Medicaid waiver services in there, but you're not. Some of those are still rules. Some of those are what? In addition to that, there's also the residence rights rules. So it is a blend of our regulations, their regulations, and how we all work together to best serve these individuals. So I'm going to just briefly touch on kind of our state plan and our waiver services and leave opportunity for questions because, as I said, RCHs is an emerging area for waivers. We have under 200 individuals that are active on waivers in RCHs right now. But we also know that there is a shift where there's more RCHs opening, and this continuum of care is very important for populations as they age as well as their natural supports age, right? So there is a cliff sometimes with individuals who have older parents or their siblings are no longer able to kind of have there in their home. And then what is the option? And we never want to go straight to nursing facility, right? We want to see, is there a continuum of care where there could be enhanced supervision and supports and services to keep the individuals in community? So we'll talk about the services offered under Medicaid, and then Melvin and I will be open to questions around our settings rule, around the waivers, and whatnot. So next. So very briefly, state plan services, I touched on this earlier, is our home health benefit, which is the skilled nursing, home health aides, PT, OT, and speech. And then there's a state plan called Community First Choice. So this has kind of exploded over the last 10 years, and we have thousands of individuals that do not need access to the waiver to have personal care attendants in the home. And RCHs are a setting that allows for community first choice. So if they have increased needs with their ADLs, their activities of daily living, that is kind of beyond what you are able to offer, they may be eligible for community first choice, which is self-directed personal care attendance. It is self-directed, so there's a lot of work involved with being on community first choice. You need to be able to identify PCAs, you need to be able to manage their timesheets, manage their schedules. And what we've been dealing with with not only state plan and the waiver services is that how do you put services in a room of someone who's sharing a room, right? How do you have individual choice and access, but then you also have the rights to privacy of their roommate? So it's been a balance. Melva's been doing a lot of work teaming with our care managers at the access agencies. Dan Beam from the Ombudsman Office is on that work group. And we're really trying to balance how to serve an individual with increased needs while still respecting the rights and privacies of the other individuals in the RCH. Certainly a work in progress. So for waiver services, there is 10 distinct waivers in Connecticut, so I'm not going to go into all of the details on all of them. I also received questions around autism waiver services from the tables, so I'll touch on that when we get to autism. But essentially, there's waivers. The way waivers work in Connecticut is that it's kind of driven by diagnosis or population. We have kind of siloed ways of serving individuals currently in Connecticut. So if you have an acquired brain injury, you're on this waiver. If you have significant mental illness with some ADL supports, you're on the mental health waiver. If you're 18 to 64 and you have hands-on care needs, you're on a different waiver, and so on and so on. So our waivers kind of are very siloed, but they're serving a significant amount of individuals and keeping them in the community, which is wonderful, right? So this is the way we look at this. So the personal care attendant waiver is 18 to 64, significant need, would otherwise be in an institution without the supports and services. There is a wait list for this program, but what you'll see might be individuals that have been on the waiver and, like I said, have a change in status, need a different living environment, and may look to move to an RCH, which is something we have to communicate very well with our care managers, that there is an option that individuals on the waivers can be in a different setting than their own home and still receive services. So although you'll see wait lists on the sides of most of these programs, I'm thinking the individuals that are coming to you are already active on the waiver, or with the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders, which is 65 and older. There's no wait list currently for that program. That's an open rolling admission. And our mental health waiver, if found eligible, has a very, very brief, month onboarding at this time, right, Erin? Right, it's 2 months. No more than 2 months. Right, so I do that's one of our flagship ones that don't have a wait list when I say everything else has a wait list, essentially. But that has its own eligibility criteria, and you need to be assessed and made eligible for that waiver. But mental health waiver can easily be used in RCHs, and that's probably our biggest cohort that uses RCHs right now, would be the mental health waiver and the elder waiver. Okay, so acquired brain injury waivers, again, and this is where RCHs are diversifying. We are aware of a number of waiver providers that have also opened RCHs. So there's an opportunity there for, business growth, for home health providers, for home care providers to kind of say, hey, I can serve them in the community. They also may be appropriate for the RCH. Let's get wraparound services to keep them in the community, and still kind of working towards their rehabilitation goals, their socialization goals, might be supported employment, but have a safe place to live in the RCH. So acquired brain injury, again, has a very long wait list, but my assumption is individuals will come to you already active on the waiver. CHCPE is our Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders. This is over 65 who would otherwise require institutional level of care. That has no wait list, and that's probably our second biggest group of individuals who are in RCHs receiving services. The autism waiver, and I'm going to address, we had two questions around mental health and autism co-occurring diagnoses and how do we support those individuals. I don't have a good answer for you. So currently in DSS, we have state plan services for under 21, so autism under 21, and then children there is no age limit on the autism waiver, has services, but that wait list is 10 years at this point. there's over 2,000 people waiting for services. There are only 200 people currently being served, and we are ramping up to get up to 800 individuals, but there's already a wait list of 2,300 individuals. So, and there is, I was just speaking to one of my colleagues at DMHAS about this, there is no provider network. So if anyone's looking to diversify into autism services, please start pulling in those credentials for autism services. There's just a growing demand in the state for services for older adults that have autism, and that, again, another aging population whose family no longer able to kind of continue caring for them, but there is no resources for them. So there are over 200 individuals on the autism waiver currently that could very well easily function well in an RCH with the structure and the organizational, and then the added supports of our care plan. So those are things that you may start seeing, or if you're interested in emerging into that space, we could talk to our case managers on the autism waiver. The other areas are our DDS waiver services. Essentially, there's no wait list for DDS, but they have access to different services due to different ages at times. And then our mental health waiver, as we shared, has, you have to be over the age of 22 and a significant mental illness and at nursing facility level of care. So if you guys have questions around that waiver, you can specifically speak to the DMHAS team. So that's our broad overview. Money follows the person. I'm just going to very briefly touch on this. So if you guys are aware of the program where individuals are in nursing homes and can transition out with support to the community, Money Follows the Person does not directly transition to RCHs because there is a disagreement in the two federal offices on what the settings rule is. So money follows it's the bane of our existence. I'm aware. The eye rolling from Mairead and Aaron. When you have one federal partner telling you one thing is true and another federal partner telling you it is not. So money follows the person.
Wait there. So the feds do it too?
What's that?
So the feds do it too. One
Yes.
says one thing, yeah.
Yes. So technically, to go home from a nursing home active on Money Follows the Person, you need to be in a living environment with 4 unrelated individuals or less, which is not most RCHs. However, in Connecticut, we have come up with a process that you can still go to an RCH if that is your setting of choice. And if you need to target for a waiver that hopefully doesn't have a wait list, which is the mental health waiver or Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders, you have a choice to choose a different setting than what MFP would consider a demonstration setting, and we still help the individual. That work is kind of, I think, accelerating over the last year. This option to go still get support from the DSS team to get you into an RCH out of a nursing home through MFP. It's MFP light. It's not exactly. So it's just, again, it's just semantics of federal funding. But we are person-centered, and if the person wants to go to an RCH, we're going to help them get there. So that's the Money Follows the Person. Last slide is just level of care for you guys to understand. So HCBS, so the waivers were created for CMS to have an option for us where we would otherwise spend Medicaid dollars in an institution. We agree to spend those dollars for the individual and the community, for them to have choice and control over how their Medicaid services are provided, as long as we can meet health and safety and they meet all the other eligibility requirements of the program. This roughly touches on level of care. Most of our individuals that you guys would be working with would be at the skilled nursing facility level of care. We have 3 other levels of care that are very involved and complex, and my assumption is that we would stay with the skilled nursing facilities, so I kind of drilled that down. It's supervision or cueing for 3 activities of daily living plus need factors, hands-on care for ADLs, or cognitive impairment, which requires daily supervision. So we have a set of criteria that an individual has to meet, and then we assess for that level of care. And then if they meet that level of care, there's an array of budget access based on their needs then. They have a needs assessment following their criteria of level of care. So that's really kind of how we work HCBS. The last slide of this deck, when you get it, is all of the application and contact information, as well as Melva's email and my email. But we just wanted to broadly touch on kind of the DSS HCBS space for you to have that background, because like I said, I think it's going to be an area in the next 5 years for you guys. You're going to see more individuals coming to you that either are on services already and need a place to land, or are in your settings and you may want to reach out for services for them. So we'll take questions now. Sit and take questions.
Okay, we have one here.
Good morning. How are you guys? Hi. So I know I've been in a couple of meetings with Melva talking about the package and services, what we as home care workers could then give to RCH individuals. Has that been finalized when it comes to like
Is this sitting with me?
PCA, homemaker, all of those things?
So Melva's going to be great and not call me out. That was sitting with me, and I apparently approved it this morning. So
okay.
It'll
Perfect.
be coming out soon.
Okay, that's answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Melva. There's so much work.
Hi, over here. I had a question about the credential process and who manages it for the Connecticut Home Care Program for elders.
Sure. So our waiver credentialing system is now managed through a company called GT Independence, and there is a Connecticut provider credentialing landing page, as well as a dedicated email address for GTI for all providers that are looking to credential. I will admit we have been hearing a lot of angst from providers that have already been providers and feel like they're being asked to do additional documentation and kind of going through a little bit more of a arduous process than typical, but it's because we switched companies that were doing this, and they're doing a little bit more to the letter of our statutes and our regulations. So it's causing some pain points for our providers that are re-enrolling, who traditionally, if you guys have been waiver providers in the past, it was Allied was the credentialing provider. It is now GT, and they've been providing credentialing since about July of 24. So if you haven't been re-credentialed, be mindful that you want to go get the checklist off the website and start preparing all of your documents well in advance. It's a very lengthy process now. But if you want to be a new provider, you haven't had a previous experience, so go to the checklist and start gathering your information, and you can submit everything on, you can start the process online. I can get that. I don't have my phone to tell. If you type in GT Independence in Connecticut provider credentialing, it should pop right up.
Jane.
Another question?
Hi, my name is Jane. I am from the Elton residential care home. It's more as a question, but more of a statement. I recently went through the audit with Mark from HCBS. So to other providers, what are some of the things that were really helpful to me to prepare for was that, again, I think what Melva had indicated, do residents have options to have visitors at all times? Do residents have access to snacks at all times? Do residents have access to computer or electronic device at all times? Do residents have the autonomy to manage their own finances? Do residents have the autonomy to go and please as they want? So, it was very helpful to know these things in advance, and so that was a great experience to go through the process. My question is, how do we? One question I have is, how do we know which providers in RCH in the community are HCBS compliant? Is there some sort of a registry where you can look up and see, hey, this RCH is compliant with HCBS?
That's a good point. Currently, I send the list out to all like the other state agencies and the access agencies, but Christine is very tech savvy. I'm sorry, and she, I'm sure, is jotting down so we can include it on our website.
Yeah. So the I don't know if anyone's ever visited the DSS website. Not the most user-friendly or up-to-date site. So we recently went through a website modernization exercise for DSS. So we're trying to make it more accessible to the public, and then we've now been given programmatic control over our own content. So we have a team at Community Options, the more tech savvy, which you were allowed to opt out of, is going to start updating our individual pages. That was not something we had on our radar, so we can add that to our site. I think that should be a public information. And I do want to be, we used to use the word non-compliant, but we're saying opting not to comply, like opting to not access the settings rule. So as we said, it's optional for you all, but we are going to, and we're not going to brandish you as non-compliant because it's optional, but we will have a list of buildings that are compliant with the HCBS setting rule and is able to accept waiver providers, and we'll have a list of buildings that cannot accept waiver providers. And we could add, we do have a resource page for RCH. We could just make sure that that all gets updated and linked.
Okay. My next question is, well, I want to make a statement. I have one resident at my facility who is a 103-year-old who receives the program through Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders Waiver, and it's very comfortable, and she's healthy, aging in place. So I can really speak volumes about the program itself. And I recently stepped into the RCH world, so I was working in a nursing home world, and so I'm really quite familiar with how to access the program. But I feel like I'm sure a lot of the RCH staff may not be as educated how to access the program, how to apply for the program. So, so I think one thing that I have found it helpful, I have 100 residents in my facility as of this morning. So it's a big RCH. So we have a lot of residents who are aging in place and whose needs are changing on a daily basis. So that's always a question that comes up. How do we access the program? So one thing that was really helpful to my staff was, connecting with, networking with local Department of Agency on Aging, Western Connecticut Department of Agency on Aging, or other resources to apply for this program so people can qualify. I think a lot of, the biggest piece is people are unaware that these programs do exist. And you decide that there's a lot less wait lists for these programs. So I personally have benefited in my facility from accessing these programs to help my clients, my residents. But also one other question, how do we know which residents are receiving HCBS services besides me? I know a few people that individually in my building, that receive services, but in a large facility, I just started working 2 months ago in the RCH. But so rather than going individual by individual, is there any other way, unified way to gather that information, who is receiving HCBS services?
Yes. When the case manager comes out and do an assessment, let's say for a new resident, there is a form that the resident can sign to give them permission to share the information with you. Because right now, Connecticut is not one of those states that it's automatic, okay? Because the right to privacy has to be maintained. So once they sign that form, the case manager will, and there's one of our case managers over there. The case manager will talk to the RCH staff and can share information of what's on the care plan. And to me, that's the ideal situation, because if something is going on with that particular resident, then you can alert the case manager. Maybe you don't know all the detail you can share, but you can at least give them a call and say, so-and-so is exhibiting these symptoms or need some more support, and they can always come in and intervene.
Okay, thanks for the information.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I think, Ray, you have some questions that were on cards you're going to answer,
You
right?
already gave me the cards. You can't give me more cards.
Are there any other cards with questions, actually, too? At it. Okay.
Some people are very tech savvy and are sending questions.
Okay.
Are you going to read me the questions?
All right. These are general ones.
Oh, for you?
You can stay. Please stay.
I'll stay.
All right. So one of the questions we got was, what are the rules for random room searches when illegal drugs are suspected? So that was a question that came up. And I verified my answer with DPH and DMHAS, and the answer is, we would say that this is not allowed. If you think there is illegal drugs in the home, you need to call the police, and the police would know whether or not a search was warranted and allowed, okay? Illegal search and seizure, right? You can't go in and search someone's room. You also don't know what you'd find, and you want to be safe. You want to keep your staff safe. So if you think something is dangerous, is wrong, you should be calling the police and having, again, the police search. If you're having difficulty engaging and connecting with your police department, again, please let us know. What I've heard from some of the police departments is that they don't really understand your setting and what you can and can't do in your setting. And so they push things off sometimes or put that on you in ways that you can't do things. So we need to do some education with our police. We also have a new law enforcement guide that is available to police departments. And as part of Elder Justice, there's a training group and an attorney that will go out with an officer and do some of that training. And the officer is from Newtown, which is very good.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Go.
And I would suggest, like Christmas time, send them some pizzas, go over, say hi. So next time when you call them or when you have something to report, the response might be more prompt.
Okay. Is there any type of therapeutic crisis intervention training an RCH can go through? And that is DMHAS. They do an excellent, kind of what they did today. Where'd Amy go? Oh, there she is. I would contact Amy and ask her, let her know what's going on, what kind of training or support you think your direct care team members need. I've had times when I've called Amy on, in the middle of the day and said, we have something going on in this RCH. They're telling me they need support. They're not sure what to do. They have an individual that's having a really difficult time, and she's been able to go right out or have someone go out and support that person. So please, they gave their information today. Please reach out to them for that.
I just want to point out, though, it's not a crisis program.
Right, it's crisis training.
Always get out there immediately. That would be mobile. So but the trainings, absolutely give Amy a call. But I just want to.
So if it is a crisis situation, call crisis intervention. If it is a training on crisis interventions, call Amy. Open up separate business. What is you talked about that. What is the process, the protocol to open up an agency waivered service? So if somebody wants to, in addition, be a waiver provider, you said go to
Yeah, so
GDT.
GTI provider credentialing is your first step if anyone wants to start looking at being a waiver provider. You also have to be a Medicaid provider. So there's, if you're not already a Medicaid provider, there is the parallel tracks that you have to go through with Gainwell and through us. Waiver providers go through in a whole other set of credentialing, but it's done in tandem with your Medicaid application. So it is involved, but it does provide you access to being a waiver provider for any of the services you're eligible for.
Okay. Another question was, if you're it's an RCH that has mostly individuals who are 65 or older. They have one resident who is disrupting the day-to-day life there, and other residents are saying that they may leave because of this person. This person has mental health concerns and refuses treatment. They're not sure if it's the appropriate setting for that person. What should they do? I would contact the diversion nurse program, ask them for some support. If the person isn't engaging in services, is there a way that maybe you can do, maybe there can be a group in the building, there's other things that can be offered. So just reaching out to them, getting their input and having that connection with them might be able to help. They might be able to give you some tools and some resources. Also, there was a question of, was this put in place so that the state wasn't paying 100% of an individual's stay in the nursing home and that the federal government takes on some of that? That's not exactly how this works. And I talked with Rich, and Christine, I'll ask you to tell me if I'm right, that the actual stay at the RCH, so people can stay there, anyone can stay there, and their payer source is their payer source, whether it be state plan, whether it be private pay, whatever that looks like. If they qualify for services in addition to that under the waiver, that yes, that can be paid differently, but they're two separate things. The payment for their room and board and the
So
payment for
room and board is not a service under a home and community-based services. So we would never be intervening in or offsetting a cost or a payment for the individual. If they're on Medicaid, they have meet the eligibility criteria, and your building meets the settings rule, the waivers may be appropriate for them at that time. But we don't offset room and board costs. You can't have duplicative services, so like the waiver care plan is modified to just make sure that it's not something already you're being compensated for. It's for services beyond what would be reasonable expectations of the RCH to provide. So it's to keep them meet their health and safety, meet their goals of community living, which would otherwise be above and beyond the expectation of the RCH to provide.
Okay, and then I have a response to a bunch of questions I was asked. We get that this can feel disjointed, right? You're getting a lot of information at once, and the individuals are already in your homes, right? They're already there. And now we're saying, oh, here are the resources, here's what you can do. Part of this is because of COVID. We had started this process for individuals who are on the board. We had started this well before COVID, so that once it was implemented, and once you saw the population starting to shift in your community, that you would know this information and have these resources. It didn't go as planned, right? So we understand that for many individuals, you have taken them in and you're trying to support them, but it feels disjointed. From the state, that's one of the things that Melva said. We're trying to do a better job and to really be consistent in, if a question comes in, I'll email it to Melva, I email it to DPH, I'll email it to Aaron and Amy, and try to come up with, is this what we're all saying? Is this consistent? And I know we haven't always done that, but we're trying to ensure that the information that you all are getting is consistent between all of the different agencies and programs that are working with you. So the more questions you ask us, the better we'll be able to come together and answer those questions for you. This was a change nationally, right? So when Christine talked about level of care, and when level of care changed related to, this was a while back, the Olmstead Act and who could be in a nursing home and why someone could be there long term. There was a shift in that nationally, where they said people can't just be in the nursing home because of seeking mental wellness or substance disorder. There has to be certain hands-on care requirements for someone to be there. And with that shift, population of people moved into the community and started living in RCHs, probably without the breadth of support and resources that needed to be there. So I get that. That's where we're trying to go with this. After the last session, it was asked that we can continue to do this, so we'll have 2 more. And I hope that everybody continues to attend, and that from this, even after that, that we do this every 6 months or so to make sure that we're giving you guys all the information you need. We do have time for a few more questions if people have general questions. Hang on one second, we got one over here.
I've heard reference to locks, and I think I was out that day when it was talked about before, so could you expand on that, what it all means?
Yes, in the residential care homes, they're treated just like you and I. When I go home, I can lock my door if I choose to, and they should have that same right. So they should have lockable doors. They should have a key, or in some cases, they have a code if there's a keypad, and they have a choice in who enters their room. So they can tell you, okay, the manager can come in or whoever can come in, but it's not like a free-for-all. You can't just open their door, go in, and go check on them. They give permission, unless like it's an emergency.
So are you referring to the outside door or
Bedroom,
just to their
bedroom
room?
doors.
Just their bedroom door?
Bedroom, bathroom doors, yeah.
Their bedroom. Another question that's come up a little bit is access to, good question, the locking the building, right? Access to the home. Residents need to have access to their home. So I understand for safety reasons, sometimes they have an exterior door that locks. You need to figure out a way to have residents have access to enter their home. They can't be waiting out there. We've had police have to go because the door wasn't answered. They have to have, if you go home and your door's locked, you have a way to get in. If a resident goes home and their door is locked, you need to have a mechanism for them to be easily able to enter that setting.
So I had a question. So for a new startup, how long, depending on population, from start to finish, is there a difference between, is there a license for this? Can you get licensed, or is it an unlicensed process? Or is there both?
I'm going to pass that to DSS. Rich, you're in the back.
Rich, can you please come up
Rich
to the stand?
Wysocki. Does everybody know Rich Wysocki? I'm sure you, there's Rich. That's a Rich question. When you guys send those to us, a lot of people send them, we forward that right on to Rich Wysocki.
Hi. So I'm Rich Wysocki. For those of you who don't know me, haven't met me, I've been at DSS for about since 2003, so it's been a while. So if you're interested in opening up a new RCH, there's two processes that you have to go through. One is the Certificate of Need process, which happens at DSS. And what that does, it's a process whereby you submit a letter of intent that says, hi, I would like to open up an RCH in this area to serve these people. And what we do is we look at it to see if that will meet certain criteria in statute, such as, is there a need in the area? Is it going to improve the healthcare delivery in the area? And how much will it cost the state if you accept state residents? So you can open an RCH that accepts state residents and private pay and other payer sources, or you can open up an RCH that does not take state-funded residents. So you do have that option. The second part of the process happens through DPH, which is a licensing and inspection process. And so this would have to go hand in hand with DSS. In other words, when you find a building or you want to open up an RCH, DPH is the agency that will provide you the license. In getting that license, you'll have to go through an inspection. That inspection will be, how do you meet the public health code? Do you have things like a kitchen? Are you med certified? What kind of capital improvements need to be made to the facility in order for you to meet the public health code? So it's two processes that go hand in hand in parallel. And does that answer your question?
DPH, anything to add to that? No, he's well trained. Okay. I actually have a question for the association. My question would be, people reach out to us about wanting to sell an RCH. And so maybe giving us information on who we should send them to, where you all post that, where that information is. Because like I said, we want to make sure that there's RCHs available to people throughout the state in lots of different areas. So if someone could tell us how you all talk to each other about who is buying and selling RCHs, that would be great. Cal, let's give that to Cal. Oh, wait. Oh.
Yeah, so DSS gets these questions too, and what we've been trying to do is send this information to the RCH Association, Ken and Brian, your industry lobbyists, and there are a couple of individuals out there who are interested potentially in buying some RCHs. So it is a private transaction between you and the buyer. So from DSS's point of view, we don't get involved in that. If someone asks us, is there something for sale? We tend to give those questions to the RCH Association or to Ken and Brian. Sometimes if we know that there's an interested buyer, we can provide the email so that you can get that contact of any interested buyer. But I just want to be clear, we don't set the price, we don't negotiate anything. That is just between, the buyer and the seller. But the other thing that you should be aware of is if you're a grandfathered facility, you're going to have to meet the public health code as it is currently, and unless you get a waiver, and DPH can go into this if I'm saying something wrong. My training was pretty good, but I don't remember everything at this age. And so, when you're negotiating that price, you have to be aware of that there are going to be, in many cases, improvements needed to the building.
And Cal, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Ken and Brian would be the best ones, and then they would forward it to myself or the president or the vice president or one of the board members.
Gotcha.
And I just want to add to that, Mary. If you want to reach Rich, his last name might be a little bit, but you can just email me, melva.cooper@ct.gov, and I will forward the questions. I mean, I've gotten questions that I have to forward to DPH and connect you with DMHAS. Any questions, just email me if my name is easier to remember, and I'll
Easier to remember and
forward
spell.
it.
Other questions? Okay. We got one here and one there, okay.
Good morning. Melba, can we start getting digital copies of like resident payments or renewals? Because there's a lot of papers which, come via email or via mail. So if we can start moving towards digital, I think that will be helpful. Especially for the payments, like, we get the mail around 4th or 5th of the month, right? And whenever there are changes or approvals, we have to wait till at least 6th or 7th to make the payment, and they start lining up on 3rd itself or 4th, right, that we need the payments. So that will be faster if we can get it on 1st.
Are you talking about their applied income and then the part they keep? Okay, we can bring that back. I saw Christine writing that down.
Yeah.
That is, I don't think that's any of us here, but that's a really good, that's great feedback that we can ask of the department. And I know some people like technology in this room and some people don't like technology in this room. So that makes it a little bit hard.
We can have an option, basically
Yeah.
check mark, do you want to go paperless or something? So
We're trying to streamline that way. I would love, make it a little easier, but I saw
Thank you.
Christine write it down, so. I think I saw a hand up over here. Yep.
I'm not sure if this is insignificant in regards to all the things that we're covering, but one of my concerns is my home is financially struggling, really difficult. And for instance, having the snacks available at night, okay, I have residents that want 4, 5, 6, 7 snacks a night. They shouldn't even be up. They need their rest. I have somebody who's like decompensating because he's not sleeping, all excited to come back down for snacks at night. My grocery bill, especially with the economy right now, has gone up from over $1,000 up to $2,000 a week. And that doesn't matter if I have 16 residents or 19 residents. Right now I'm hovering at 17. So these types of rules that we're trying to imply are very difficult for us to financially do. And with the amount of money that I feel that the residents are receiving on a weekly basis, I feel that they should be contributing to their own snacks. So the only thing I can do is I encourage them, hey, listen, some of them I handle their money, I give them allowances. I am ATM, automatic teller merrily, at my home. I give them, 2 or 3 times a week, I'll give them their money. Others take their money at the whole at the beginning of the month. But I say, listen, here's a little bit extra. Try to go out and get yourself some snacks so that you're not hungry at night. I mean, I'm still providing the same quality food, but I can buy 30, 40, 50 boxes of ho-hos and ding-dongs and things like this a week. It's getting ridiculous, and I just beside myself.
I wonder if you are one of the providers one of my ROs brought up to me. And these guys are the ROs, the regional ombudsman. I was told we look like we work at Walmart, so.
I think I'll take that one. I think I'll take that, Marie.
So I will say, it does say you have to have nutrition, you have to have snack options. I don't think, and this is my opinion, John, but I don't think you need to go and buy boxes of ho-hos and Twinkies or.
I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem. More
Right.
healthier stuff, and they'll probably come for snacks less.
Yes. It's. Yes. It does say snacks. We do want you to have meaningful snacks, right? It's frustrating sometimes if I go and the only thing is a sleeve of saltines, right? That would be, a meaningful snacks, but I don't think anyone here has the expectation that you're going out and spending all of this money on lots of different varieties of snacks. I think fruits, vegetables, do you have carrots, like the little mini carrots, things like that with a big thing of dip available. Something for them to be able to eat and drink. Do you have water available? Can they get it out of the little, some places don't have access to water, some do. Do they have water available 24/7? Those types of things. I don't think our expectation would be for you to provide a snack bar. I think I want to go have a snack at your place. I don't think I have that many snacks in my house. So.
And that would support your position of, well, if you want the ho-hos and the ding-dongs and the Doritos, use your money that you have for that. I have clementines and carrot sticks. Apples. But that's also, not that produce is not expensive either. It's all expensive, right? So we understand that. But I do think the access and the variety, and then I don't think you can just say, well, go buy your own snacks, you get 2. Like, that's not going to be okay, but you can provide what's reasonable for you to have on hand, and then it's reasonable to suggest that if they want something different, that they can use their own funds. But we all are, as adults, and if you're making decisions for self, you can make bad decisions, so they can go choose and make those unhealthy decisions if that's what they want. But you can't just say you get 1 snack.
No. Okay. No, I'm.
I might say, though, even though we do provide a couple of options, some of them are hoarders. So they'll take, we'll give them 1 or 2 throughout the night, but then then they're carrying around in their bag, 5 oranges, 10 ding-dongs. This is the reality of what you're dealing with.
Yep.
So even though we try to do the best we can, people think about the significant cost of this. That's kind of my.
Understand.
To all of this.
There is.
For us to do. And it's cost sometimes to the detriment of the well-being of our residents.
Understand. And that's when we hear about individual cases like that, or a home that you're struggling and someone is taking everything, that is also something I might reach out to DMHAS on and say, we have someone that's hoarding the snacks. Maybe it is trauma. Maybe they've had low access to food in the past. Helping them deal with that, encouraging them. I get this is new, right? It's a different population, it's different things. But sometimes there's something else behind that, and letting them know, look, I have all of this, it's going to be here tomorrow. And then they learn that it's going to be there. It's not going to happen overnight, but I would ask for support from DMHAS on that regarding hoarding. And then what support might they need? And again, this is where I think some of the waiver services also come in, because that would be something maybe you could talk to the case manager about. Like, this is something that's happening regularly. I saw another
question over here.
Oh, okay.
Hi, we're a fairly new RCH, and we have residents monthly that take their whole check, go out, whether it be to the casino, buy drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, and then when it comes time for them to pay their income portion, they don't have the money. How do we go about handling that?
So that is a challenge, right? They have applied income. There is income they're supposed to pay that comes from the Department of Social Services. It's the expectation that they pay that. Meeting with them, talking with them, they can be taken to court for not paying that. I don't have a magic answer or a mechanism for that. Sometimes it's about working on budgeting, sitting down, maybe even having a little bit of a budgeting course. Our individual who is at Macaulay, working with Macaulay left. Oh, okay. Taking some courses, looking at things, having access to the computer, maybe taking some courses. Do they want to talk about budgeting, how to get what they want out of the month, but also be accountable for what they owe their living environment? I know that isn't perfect and it doesn't always happen. You can't take it without their permission.
Then what do we do?
That is and this is not my rule, so the way it is set up is that it has to go through the court system. That was set up before me, so I did not make that up. And that's the same in other settings too. Nursing homes have the same challenge related to individuals turning over their applied income.
What I found out is we often try to encourage the residents to go, who are having some trouble staying, we often offer to go with them to I have a van nearby, but as soon as the under the third hits, where a Social Security check comes in, that morning we try to
get it at the get, which is,
I'll take you to the bank if you pay me.
no pressure, but let's go get this, yes. And teaching them what that means, that then you can uphold getting the snacks, and you can do the things. If they pay their portion and do what they need to do, then that helps the overall setting.
So we have 2 residents that are falling victim almost monthly of what is called a romance scam.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're coming, they clean out, and they clean them out right on the first. or the 3rd, whenever their checks come in. And we've had to become the woman's payee because, as many times as she changes her bank card, she gives it to them. Or she goes to the store and she buys these gift cards and gives them the codes over the phone. And no matter, I brought the police in to help her, everything. We had to become her payee because she just won't, she's falling victim to it constantly.
So I've been doing some presentations with the Attorney General, and this is coming up, and it's not just older adults or the populations of people that you're serving. The reason they lose more money, why do we think they lose more money? Because they have money to lose, right? It isn't always because of mentation. There's a lot of people who are our ages that lose money. I don't lose a lot of money because I have 3 kids in college and I don't have any money for them to take, right? So I'm not really gonna be prey to them. But for individuals who have access to cash and they know when they get their checks, they know when to prey upon these individuals. So I would also say, if that's happening, please make a referral to the Elder Justice Hotline at the AG's office, because they are investigating these. We do see that people are preyed upon. Sometimes if they have a disability, they're lonely. We see it happen to individuals related to obituaries, right? They find them on Facebook, obituaries, things like that. So it's not the population only. So I would say please refer those. AARP has a fraud hotline, and so we're trying to identify those. They're not always able to get the money back, but I would alert them to who it is and what's on the other end of that. They can sometimes. No, hang on one second. We're gonna... Yeah. So she's saying that the police are saying there's not a lot that they can do. And the police will sometimes say that, or they'll say it's between 2 people. We are also trying to educate the police on victimization. So I would call the Elder Justice Hotline, and they'll work with the state's attorney to identify if it's one person, if it's a group of people targeting. I think that would be the best way to address that.
But I also think, to the point of the police, that's for recovery, and a lot of the money is just gone. So it's the education to not get into the loop again, which is in extreme situations, you can ask for a conservator of estate. Like you said, you can become rep payee. It's change in behavior of the individual. You're not going to change the behavior of the scammers. And there is not a recovery option. If you willfully go purchase gift cards and send it to someone, or if you willfully turn over your PIN, it's going to be much harder or much further down the road. It's the preventing it happening again, unfortunately, and the lesson learned of losing that money. So, but there are conservative estate programs. You being a rep payee, if the person is of sound mind and body and wants you to do that, then that's fine too. Also might help you get your check, your applied income. But yeah, I think those are support, and that's that additional level of support, right? You guys are providing some wraparound services for people that may not be managing in their individual space by themselves, right? And that's what you guys can help do.
And supported decision-making. Like, I think COE is a last resort. We don't want people to lose their rights to that, but doing supported decision-making, working with them, and educating them on the way you can support them is really helpful.
Last question.
Oh.
This is quick. What if we have conservators?
Oh, this is a good one.
That we have to call every single month to say, can you please send their rent? What do we do then?
So we've started to identify, there's been several RCH owners that are telling us there's certain conservators that are not upholding their duties, right, especially financially, or not doing their redeterminations, or not fulfilling what they've committed to doing and not getting you guys your money. We would like to know that. If you could please send us the name of the conservators that aren't doing that. I have asked the probate court to meet with us on this, because what I'm noticing is it tends to be the same few conservators, right? And so that's a problem, that they need to not be able to be a conservator for these individuals, or need to be held to a level of accountability. We hear it in nursing homes, we hear it in the residential care homes, so we absolutely do want to know.
You know they're good.
So we want to know about that, okay? Pardon me? Now, for those, send it to the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program email address. Either that or give it to your regional ombudsman.
All right. So thank you very much. We actually ended on time today. I'll be around for a few minutes if there's other questions. Thank you.